Oh, here's an interesting story. So, in 2007 or whenever it was, let's see, seven? Well, Allison, you can correct me because I was spending a lot of time with you then, and I had even brought the purple potatoes over that one morning. Man, Allison, I owe more to you for teaching me Carnap than Higginbotham ever did. But I guess you didn't realize that you were teaching me Carnap at the time. But yeah, we had one of our study binges at your place, one of our stimulant-fueled study binges, and I think I made an analytical table of contents of Rudolf Carnap's Der Logische Aufbau der Welt. I think I did it in about 8 hours. I've got it somewhere. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it's on this very machine. But I think the power supply is downstairs. You can gouge your way if you want to. So anyway, Constantine was having some problems. Now our cousin, my cousin, Dimitris Kyriazis, I think his middle name is Kyriazis because his father is Kyriazis. Dimitris Kyriazis, eminent cardiothoracic surgeon, his partner in crime, I shouldn't say crime, there's no crime involved, Stephanie Gross, eminent cardiologist, dynamic duo, partners in healthcare, partners in medicine, partners in cardiothoracic science. How's that? So Constantine was having some problems. He was a heavy smoker, and the aorta, descending aorta. Can't we listen to something else, Dimitri? Jesus Lord. Let's see. How about Phaedra? All right, this is Myrto. In case you've never looked it up, I probably sent it to you several times. It's quite a superpositional matrix. You can think of it as an image. Like if you're sitting in this room that I'm sitting in, there's a certain image. There's the glide. There's this. There's the Marlboro Southern Cut. I couldn't find, I don't know which kind of Camels Dr. Higginbotham smoked. Maybe Professor Higginbotham and Enrique, you would enlighten me on that number. And then we have this, right? This is Church of Religious Science. Chet Castellaw. He was a writer for Bob Hope. See, the Thomas Kuhns of the world, structure of scientific revolutions. See, that first of all, the title is very important, very mistaken. He shouldn't have used provocative wording. And it's because the work is very highly celebrated. And I think some of the intuitions are probably okay. But one thing that's occurring to me lately is this sort of social or civic negotiation at all points or at all junctures. The civic negotiation of the limits of science. Because if science is allowed to penetrate indeed everywhere a human body might penetrate or a human mind might penetrate, see, we have our reservations about how deeply into the mind of God that science is capable of probing. And those are plausible, speculative questions, but it's very hard to deny the brute objective evidence. I mean, the brute objective merit of the evidence from the deepest, darkest personal facts of your life. Now, what relevance are these facts to public discourse? Well, up until now, they've really, in the de facto sense, not really been taken very seriously. De jure, of course, people know that everyone comes from somewhere. And if you were, say, I don't know, the child in the in that movie about the room with who's that impossibly attractive the superhero, you know who you are. What else was she in? Superhero the Room? Superhero of the Room, that's what your name is. No. Jeremy Rosado is not the superhero of the room. Opposite Mark Wahlberg in The Gambler. Brie Larson. So Brie Larson was in the room with that, about that kid, or anyway, they were being held prisoner. So if Noam Chomsky, if that was you, Noam Chomsky, if your initial 10 years, Noam Chomsky, were that you were living with your mother and she was Brie Larson, I mean, look, if you told me that is what is responsible for your intellectual formation, Noam Chomsky, I would believe it. Right? The point is, what is it that produces a Noam Chomsky or a Slavoj Žižek or a Michel Foucault or a Jacques Derrida or a Jim Higginbotham or a Gottlob Frege? Not so we can emulate them, no. So we can understand how it is that they thought what they thought. What were the conditions for the possibility, Professor Kant? The conditions for the possibility for the thinker to emerge the way that they did. This is almost entirely untheorized, and science inevitably goes in this direction because it is the most immediate territory that's still unexplored, untheorized, simply for fear of shame and so on. So my point is that science undergoes a continuous, it's in a constant negotiation with culture and society about what the proper limits are of its transparency. Thou shalt not cross certain lines, even though Freud wrote what he did like 120 years ago or whatever. That's pretty crazy, right? I mean, here's a guy, uptight, Austrian, sort of Vienna Victorian sort of morality. I mean, there's not really any robust language for symbolizing weird sexual experiences. And he just starts writing penis, vagina, and stuff. So that is bold, regardless of whether his theory is worth anything. He at that particular time and place, it must have been a pretty bold move for him to make that, especially in society and so on. And he was certainly very well familiar with his proofs, such that he could demonstrate a rational basis that gives justification for saying every other word, penis, vagina. So that's what's happening here, providing rational basis to basically take me at my word that I'm full of shit. I can point you to things. I can tell you about what it is that makes those things related for me. That's about all I can do. But that always tends to lead someplace good, because that's all logic, and if you're able to parse logic, you're able to solve problems, and if you're able to solve problems, you are a useful human, and people will appreciate that. And that's pretty much about the size of it, I think.